and importantly learned a lot. Perhaps my presentation will be a bit different from the other ones, both yesterday and today, for the reason that Webster has said. And my only question I had was, we're waiting for Mengistu to be extradited to Ethiopia to start reconciliation. And he had already preemptively hit my question by saying that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission from Zimbabwe are not here. But let me say this, we don't have a Truth and Reconciliation Commission in Ethiopia. That's fact number one. And I'll come back later on why. And probably why Ethiopia may need this Truth and Reconciliation Commission actually. And I'm here as an academic, and I teach at Addis Ababa University. I also engage with the African Union Commission as one of the AU high-level advisory group to the Commission. And so you can see that I'm not expert, a commissioner, or of the any TRC kind of organization. We have some effort on national dialogue, which is a nomenclature given to say we need Truth and Reconciliation Commission, but we give it a different name, and there are efforts towards that. So TRCs are not expert. It's my obsession, not profession, if you wish, in terms of looking at TRCs and their nature and how it may be applied to Ethiopia. But there are three important reasons why I'm interested in the topic of TRCs. First, Ethiopia has passed through a serious and grave mass atrocities in the past, including during Derg mainly, which completely destroyed the social fabrics of Ethiopian society. And this was, later on I will come back if time permits, came immediately after the demise and the toppling of the Imperial Haile Selassie's government in Ethiopia, and where the military hijacked the power of that revolution and leading to atrocities of different kinds. And as a result, I'm a person with a family, from a family that has been seriously victimized by different actors, both state and non-state actors. My parents, grandparents, and also my father was killed during the revolution time by both, actually, my family was attacked from state and non-state actors at different times. And I'm concerned about the future. It's not only the past that concerns us, and we need to address it, and also the present situation and the victimization that my family and other families, millions of families, which makes me not necessarily unique, that have been victimized. But because of the past mainly, the present is stuck. Basically, we couldn't move, and it's captured by past atrocities and situation, and the future equally is affected by that. So we don't have neither truth or reconciliation process in Ethiopia, and we had a red terror trials because immediately after the toppling of Mengistu's regime in 1991, the current government, which took over power in 1991, announced to establish a trial, a special prosecutor, and with the normal ordinary courts to look at these cases where these people who have been involved in killing different segments of the society on political or otherwise grounds, stood for trial. And I am sure most of you know the history of Ethiopia, at least the long standing history of imperial regime in Ethiopia until 1974, the last emperor being Emperor Haile Selassie, which was toppled in 1974, and this was the result of student movement-led revolution in Ethiopia, as in many of the African countries and elsewhere. And the military junta at that time, led by Mengistu, took over power, and as a result there was atrocities committed by the state actors against insurgency groups, but also insurgency among us themselves. There had been a lot of atrocities in the field and also in the towns and cities in Ethiopia. And the number is not clear until now. We don't have a proper truth process or fact-finding investigation commission. Generally speaking, courts that have tried the Derg officials put it between 500,000 to 1 million people were killed by the Derg regime mainly. But this is only one aspect of the atrocity. We know Derg was in the middle, the military junta led by Mengistu, and he was killing all insurgency groups, but all insurgency groups were also fighting each other and killing civilians and also combatants within their rank and file. But in 1991, the special prosecutor was established to address only one aspect of that atrocity, where Derg, the military junta, was attacking and killing counterinsurgency members of the rebel groups and the population that support these rebel groups. So you can see a lot has been left without any kind of redress between non-state actors, where, for example, my family were also victimized. So the special prosecutor had a very clear mandate when it was established, and this was one unique aspect. This is a domestic trial of a large size magnitude, and it tried these officials for genocide and crime against humanity under Ethiopian Penal Code, which was there even during Emperor Haile Selassie's time. Genocide on the basis of political opinion was included as a definition of genocide in the Criminal Code of Ethiopia. So it was not a new law that was promulgated. It was a law that existed for a long time before military junta came to power. And it was meant to hold these officials accountable and to punish them, to teach and bring collect evidence and oral testimony, written evidence, but also to bring a clean break from the past, at least in terms of rejecting impunity in the country. Unfortunately, the Red Terror trial were part of the government, the new government, and the new government until now, 25 years on, and at that time was facing a big popular resistance on its legitimacy. So the legitimacy deficit that the government had was transformed, or also transposed to legitimacy of the prosecutor and even the judiciary. It took more than 12 years for this trial to be completed. And there was sentencing, including on Mengistu Haile Mariam in absentia of life sentences and other kind of different sentences that were imposed on, sanctioned on different people that were officials of the military regime. More than 5,200 officials were tried, 55 of them top officials of the Supreme military junta of 120 that started as 120-member council. 25 of them were in absentia, including Colonel Mengistu. And for many people, this constitutes a victor's justice, actually, that it was Mengistu's regime which was toppled by one of the rebel groups, and the rebel groups brought a trial to sanction this, not the other kind of atrocities that were committed by different non-state actors and rebel groups. So there is partial acknowledgement and redress to the atrocity, but not the entire one, and until now, the country is facing this problem. And this is the time that we are also talking about this partial justice cannot cannot be sustained. And for Ethiopia to get out of that past atrocity, there is a need for a proper process to address the past atrocities, and also give progressive forces to think and focus on nation rebuilding, because Ethiopia has been there for a long time as a nation, but it has a very, very difficult history that needs to be addressed. And still we have politics of resentment, politics of hate, and politics of revenge, and so on, that has festered at the political forces. And many people, even if they want some process to associate themselves with, so that they can move on with their life and also contributing to the nation rebuilding, but they are still facing the challenge of not being able. And beyond that, the most important issue is the delegitimization of the state, especially the government continues because of, partly because of this, and also the future and the current, not only the past, the history is contested, but also the present and the future is being contested, including by violent means and so on. Now, in the economic front, as you may know, Ethiopia has advanced significantly. To some people, actually, the progress has been miraculous in many ways in the economic front, but the political front, we are still with shortage and big hiccup in terms of having a political vision that brings Ethiopia forward to have progressive political forces to take power, and also to share also the history in a way that is constructive. And some of us, we are pushing for national dialogue. We are very politically cautious. That's the reason why we say national dialogue rather than TRCs, because in our part, reconciliation has been connoted as if it is power sharing by political forces, and to avoid that, we would prefer to call it national dialogue. And I think convincing political and social forces is to commit is becoming very difficult, and we are trying to do that, but we are facing a lot of problems. Do I have time? Or I can. Yes. Okay, I think I will put two issues that I would like to share with you in terms of my reflections from yesterday and today's discussion, which may help for those of us back in Ethiopia who are trying to work on this topic. First, the issue of limitations of TRCs in general, intrinsic limitations and artificial limitations of TRCs. Many people back home think that TRCs would solve a lot of problems, but not insignificant number think that that is the panacea, that's the silver bullet, if you wish, for the problem, which I learned that we can have more, not silver bullets, but more bronze bullets, if you wish, several bronze bullets that would be needed for nation rebuilding and addressing these kind of things. Managing expectation also a very important issue that we need to take into consideration. But importantly, there are also arguments that given the literature from TRCs, other TRCs, people consider them as toothless. But from yesterday's and today's discussion, I learned that even if to some degree, in some aspects, they are toothless, but they are not. They are actually very, very useful. Not necessarily less in terms of contributing a part in the nation building that is needed. And probably they are very helpful for legitimizing processes in a country where a significant number of population would like to associate with some kind of process so that they can address their past grievances and move on from politics of hate towards politics of constructive engagement and dialogue that allows to address basic key national questions, including those that has been mentioned today and yesterday on land issue, question of democracy, question of identity, question of religious and other markers, equality of different kind of categories of population, and so on and so on. I'll stop here, and maybe later on if there are some issues that I need to address, I'll add. Thank you, Mr. Chair.